Good morning, everyone. EagleX from ATX EagleX Gaming here today, and I have my first market watch. I've done quite a while, and I'm really excited to go over some stuff with y'all. Also, before we get started, if you guys haven't liked or subscribed to the channel, definitely appreciate it. As I see your support, lets me know I'm going in the right direction for the content y'all guys enjoy. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and start out. As I used to do, I always start with the sealed market. The sealed market's actually pretty interesting right now. We see like 1.0 is definitely at all-time low. We see that some of the more like playable sets, like as always BT9 is up there, but BT6 is actually going up there. It's like a collector set because there's not really a lot you're chasing for in this set. But it's the fact that it's just had the first ghost card, so if you're trying to pull it, this is the only set you get from, obviously. So it's just pretty iconic for that. Dimensional Phase just being up there for the really rough ratios of rares and playability. But then we see like the most recent set, BT17. This card, there's sets above MSRP, and we can kind of look at the singles here in just a second. But long story short, stores under-ordered this set, and when they upped their order, the set amount was already printed, so they weren't able to get the full amount, more than likely, unless they were consistently ordering large amounts. So that's why this product shorted. That's why when the demand increased but the supply didn't increase, the price went up. Just really short story on that. But if we look at the set as a whole, we obviously have the English Magnet alt. This is always going to be a chase. The English Imperial alt, it's going to be a chase. We have pretty good lottery cards, honestly, like for long-term playability. Like Aces are great. Valkyrie Ace is super playable. The Grand Ace is good in Bug. Vike Ace is probably the most generic one long-term, that and the Vike. So it's between those two. But if we start looking at the singles here, you'll start noticing like we have the higher dollar SRs again, like higher dollar base SRs, Digimon being the highest one here. This just comes from the fact that it's the staple for the deck. You need 4 copies. You can't play New Imperial without 4 copies of New SR. But when you start looking at some of the other cards, high lows, what I need to do, it'll start yoinking out the SRs with it. But yeah, so when we start getting over here to SRs, like we see almost $20 base Valkyrie. That makes sense for how playable it is. The Digimon at almost 20 also makes sense for how playable and how key it is to the deck. So there's nothing like that screams alarms to me, but there are 2 cards in particular I definitely think are scoops right now from this set that are just undervalued. And I'll kind of go into them here in a second, but Vike Ace and the Dorumon rookie. I think these 2 are some of the best long-term cards, and they play around any potential future ban list we have at the moment. So let's go ahead and start looking ahead. So I have Yu Yu Japan. This is like a price guide I like using for referencing future formats and how prices are going to move relative to the Japan market. Obviously, it's never a one-for-one comparison, but it gives you a good idea like where you can see big gaps. The only thing that's like normally bigger trends are the fact that like some of the iconic like pro tag lines like Gallantmon and Imperial do have a little bit of inflation, and the waifu tax is a little bit harder hitting over in Japan than it is in the US. But it shows you for like staples and playables like how much you really need to pay attention to. And I know I'm just going to be doing a very, very rough ballpark conversion. I know it's not 100 yen as a dollar, but that's how I do a shorthand math to kind of showcase some things. So first and foremost, let's start over here with Digimon Ace. Digimon Ace is currently a $5 SR for us. It's a super generic ace. And honestly, this card's really good in OmniZoo. If you guys haven't seen from my webcam locals, OmniZoo won the finals, and Digimon Ace put in a lot of work throughout the entire day. The generic ability for the when attacking to pop something with fewer sources, and then de-digivolve 2, and then do a kind of blanket stun. Pretty nice, pretty nice. And if we look over in Japan here, we see it's just short of 1,800 yen. It's like, even if we're not doing a $1-for-$1 conversion and we did like a currency conversion, we can see Digimon Ace is actually quite undervalued here, and something I would be looking at long term. But that's just like for its generic use. Aces are really good for that. And we kind of talked about this earlier. The Digimon, right now it's sitting at what, like 18, 19 bucks, 12 plus $5 shipping if you're looking for a playset, good playset scoop there because you can get it for about $15 cheaper than it should be. But we start looking here, and it's like roughly 18 bucks. And we look at Pildramon, we see it like 28 bucks. I mentioned your Pro Tag lines do have a little bit more of a tax in Japan than they traditionally do here. But the fact it's playable, like super playable, super key to the deck, and in the future, the deck does get better, because we do get the new Ace. I would probably look at getting your sets at some point. I mean, I would definitely be scooping this set. This set's cheap. I know it's not a verified seller, but TCG player has protection, so I would purchase it with no hesitation there. This super cheap set, and I would pretty heavily consider just getting your copies sooner than later. That's Pildramon. Next is Dorumon. The reason I'm pulling up Dorumon is because we look ahead to SOC decks. There's two types of SOC decks you will see. You'll see the ones that run the traditional Dorumon base. So that's why I pull up Dorumon as a generic card here. You got your OG1 BT7 Doru if you Tuckosaurus, Gate of Memory. You got the BT9 Doru, Pitch and X Antibody, Draw 2. And you got the new SR Doru because it cheats out your Kosuke Tamer. Cheating out Tamers is really good these upcoming formats. So if you haven't picked up your Dorus, I just want to kind of show, again, the price difference we have here. It's like 1,500 yen, give take. And that price difference just screams out it's probably going to go up long term. This isn't something I'm doing for like short term. It's something I'm looking at like we're holding the card for a longer term investment. It should be going up unless we get like other alt arts or the deck just for some reason doesn't pick up here at all. But it's a new deck. I'm expecting people to play it. So that's the Doru base. There's also a Luga base for the deck, and it emphasizes the use of the AG Tamers. And because you have more AG Tamers, the Luga for BT14 is more consistent. So we can actually pop over to Blast Ace here, and we see it's like 1,300 yen. Once again, you can do the conversions to be exact. I'm just going to ballpark. There's a difference from what the pricing is here. So it's something I would start considering looking at. And just for reference of a deck build, this is what we saw if you guys watch my video on the Luga SOC Mirror Match. This is basically a deck that was being showcased here. You got your AG Tamers. Because you have two of them, you're more consistent hitting an AG for the start main effect of this Luga. And even though you don't have the super cheap Evo into the Doruga and Dex Doruga line, it gives you a free fixer. It gives you a free memory pluser. It gives you an extra way to push damage. So just one thing keep in mind. If you intend on playing either the new Luga deck because you do have the new Tamer, or the Luga base SOC, just keep the Luga SR in mind. So that's Blast Ace. Now we move over to upcoming formats too. And I want to emphasize Blue Hybrid here. Something you'll always see in the upcoming Blue Hybrid decks. Obviously, you'll see your new BT17 line. You'll see an 8 Uko base. Then you'll see typically a splash of red because a lot of the decks do run either Crimson Blaze or the red-blue option. Yeah, this one right here. The reason you run that aside from Draw Engine and the option, sometimes you run Floodgate rookies that are relevant too. But another common thing you'll start seeing is the old Koji Tamer here. Koji has the inherent effect to be unblockable. And if you guys don't know, unblockable is pretty good against Magnamon X. If you can't be blocked by Magnamon X, you're swinging and doing damage directly. And then you also bounce with the Ancient Guru effect and bounce of security as well, so you're effectively doing 2 damage. But if you guys also think about how generic long-term some of the new Tamers, like I believe his name Shoto is, he just gives a blocker to anything. And if you're unblockable because you're BT7 Koji, really good long-term pickup. So it's another thing I'm looking at here. I know if you look at the pricing here, it's not like anything crazy. It's like $8 for the box topper. Again, I'm grossly over-rounding, $3 for the base. But if you look at the base cost being 13 cents for the base, you have a lot of upward room for just potentially stonking or just preparing for an upcoming deck you may want to play. So that's the Blue Hybrid sample deck here. And we did those. And then just final thing, wrap up. Y'all are probably aware at this point, Digimon Emperor is a very relevant card. It's seeing more and more play. Just because Ukos and start and main rookies, start and main phase rookies. This guy can skip the start and main phase. Because the ordering of effects is you unsuspend, your draw phase, then you do your breeding phase, which is either hatching or raising, and when you raise, you have pending effects of Digimon Emperor here. The pending effect is when your opponent pushes the Digimon out. So the only effect that goes first is your turn players when a Digimon moves from raising effects, including the memory Uko. But if it's a start of main phase effect, you never get to start main phase if Digimon Emperor pushes memory back to the opponent's side. And because you never successfully started a start main phase, you never got those triggers. Anyways, with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. It's my first Market Watch in a moment, so I appreciate y'all's support. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Take care, y'all.